From classic festive flavors to dazzling holiday designs, we're making 10 Christmas-inspired cupcakes. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and what better way to celebrate than with some delicious Christmas cupcakes. Let's get started. We're starting the holiday season off with these red velvet cream cheese frosted cupcakes. A beautiful deep red cupcake with a subtle cocoa flavor, topped with a generous swirl of cream cheese frosting. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a list of ingredients and directions. You can also find a link to this same cupcake box and other recommended products. Grab your festive holiday apron, we're baking cupcakes today. To a big mixing bowl, we need 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Yes, that's correct, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, 1 large egg. We're going to mix this on medium speed until well incorporated. This looks good. Next we need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. We're going to mix this until well combined. This looks perfect. Next we need 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Followed by 1 teaspoon of vinegar. This is the brand I'm using. We also need 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk. There's 1/3, and there's the second. To get that classic beautiful red color, I'm using this brand of gel food coloring. You can find this in the baking aisle of your local Hobby Lobby store. It is going to turn your cake bright red, and as you can see, it's almost as bright as my mixer. We are going to add some cocoa powder to this, and that will tone down the brightness just a bit. For our dry ingredients, we need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt because I don't have any regular salt on hand, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I used my half measure here, that's why you see me use it twice. We're going to beat this together until everything looks well combined. Scrape the bowl as needed, preferably with a spatula. We're going to give that batter one more quick spin. Alright, we're ready. Using a cookie scooper, we're going to divide the batter evenly, filling each liner 2/3 of the way full. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 14 to 16 minutes. And while these are cooling, let's make the cream cheese frosting. To a bowl, we need half a cup of unsalted butter and 8 ounces of cream cheese. We're going to give this a quick mix. Add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of heavy whipping cream, or milk if you don't have any on hand. Mix, mix, mix. Lastly, all we need is 3½ cups of powdered sugar. Dump it all in and mix until your frosting looks nice and smooth. This might take a few minutes. Be sure to scrape the sides of your bowl, making sure we didn't miss any butter or cream cheese chunks. This looks good, I don't see any lumps. Using a piping bag and an A1 piping tip, we're going to generously pipe on our cream cheese frosting. Starting from the center, swirl out and up like so. I'm not the greatest at piping frosting, as you can see. I might have piped a bit too much on some of these, but it's the holidays. I don't think anybody's gonna mind. Once you've piped all of your cupcakes, we're gonna stick them in the fridge to let the frosting firm up just a bit. I'd say about 20 minutes or so. Alrighty, if you ask me, I think these cupcakes are fine on their own, but if you want to dress them up a bit, you can pick up a container of red sprinkles in the baking aisle of your local Walmart or wherever the holiday section is located. I did some with and some without sprinkles. Which one do you think is better, with or without sprinkles? Here's an ingredients list. Today we're making these adorable gingerbread cupcakes with homemade mini gingerbread men on top. This eye-catching holiday treat combines the warm spiced flavors of the classic gingerbread cookie with a moist, fluffy texture of a cupcake. Topped with a swirl of delicious cream cheese frosting with a slight hint of cinnamon, decorated with a tiny gingerbread man on top. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a full list of ingredients and directions, useful product links like this box, posted here by me for your convenience. To get started, let's make the gingerbread cookies. For our dry ingredients, we need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, spooned and leveled, followed by 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 heaping teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 heaping teaspoon of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. Give that a quick mix and then set that off to the side. To a small bowl, we need 1 large egg, and a 1/4 cup of unsulfured molasses. Okay, set that off to the side. To a big mixing bowl, we need 1/2 cup of unsalted softened butter and 3/4 cup of light brown sugar packed. We're gonna mix this until fully combined. Next goes in our molasses egg mixture. Mix until well combined. Dump in half of the dry ingredients. Once it looks mostly all mixed in, go ahead and dump in the remaining dry ingredients. Scrape the bowl as needed. Once your ingredients have been fully mixed in, grab some plastic wrap. Grab your cookie dough and wrap it up. We're gonna let this chill in the fridge while we work on our cupcakes. For the cupcakes' dry ingredients, we need 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give this a quick mix and then set that off to the side. To another small bowl, we need 1/2 cup of buttermilk and 1/3 cup of unsulfured molasses. Give that a good mix. What a gorgeous color! Alright, set that off to the side. To our main mixing bowl, we need 1/2 cup of salted softened butter and 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar packed, and we're going to fully mix these two together. Add in 2 large eggs. Mix, mix, mix. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Here comes the fun part. We're gonna add in half of the dry ingredients, then all of the wet, followed by the remaining dry ingredients, mixing well between each addition. Lastly, we're going to scrape that bowl. Double checking for lumps, this looks good. Grab your standard size cupcake pan and your festive Christmas liners. I picked these gold ones up from Walmart in their cake decorating aisle, not the baking aisle. Grab a cookie scooper and fill each liner 3/4 of the way full. Some of them might need a little topping off. Alright, this probably isn't a make or break step, but having messy batter in my cake pan bothers me. So I'm going to take a toothpick and sort of swirl the batter around like so. This also just helps me judge whether or not a liner needs more or less batter. This recipe states it makes 12 cupcakes, but I had enough batter left for 2 extra cupcakes. Excellent! Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes or until a toothpick comes out with a few moist crumbs. While those are cooling, let's finish up our cookies. Grab some parchment paper, enough to fit on a cookie sheet. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my mom tax. She took a spoonful of cookie dough and ate it. It's okay, she's graciously letting me dirty up her kitchen for the sake of sneaking a couple cupcakes. We're gonna start by working with half of the cookie dough and toss the other half back in the fridge. With the rolling pin, we're gonna roll out our cookie dough to about 1/4 inch thick. Lightly flour your rolling pin as you go so your dough doesn't stick to it. Now this is a standard size cookie cutter. Way too big for the job, but still super cute. We're gonna need something smaller like these mini pie cutters. Now I picked this up from Crate & Barrel, but I have seen something very similar, different branding at Walmart. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a link to a similar product, if you can't find it at your local Walmart. Since we were able to get 14 cupcakes, we need at least 14 little gingerbread men, but make a few more just in case. Since these are so small, we don't want to risk damaging them by moving them around. Space out your cuts so we can just remove the excess dough later. And slide your baking sheet under into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes depending on your oven. I believe I took mine out at around 8 minutes. And you will have a ton of dough left over. We still have that other half in the fridge. But since we don't need any more, you can turn those into regular sized gingerbread cookies. While those are baking and then cooling, let's make the frosting. To a big bowl, we need 1/2 cup of salted softened butter and 8 ounces of cream cheese, also softened. We're going to mix this until smooth, scraping the bowl as needed. This looks good. Next goes in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and lastly 4 cups of powdered sugar added in gradually. I just dumped a bunch in. It's fine, it'll be our secret. Be sure to scrape the sides of the bowl as you go. Once your frosting looks nice and smooth, we're going to transfer this to a piping bag fitted with a 6B piping tip. I get most, if not all, of my piping tips from Hobby Lobby, if that helps. Grab a cupcake and pipe on your frosting. Now the only thing left to do is decorate our gingerbread men cookies. They need buttons. For the royal icing, we need 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of meringue powder, and 2 tablespoons of milk. Mix until smooth. This is what you want it to look like, silky smooth. Okay, transfer this to a piping bag. Grab your completely cooled small army of mini gingerbread men and pipe on at least 2 buttons, preferably 3. Let your icing set for a few minutes before putting your men on the cupcakes. And here they are, absolutely adorable. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments section. Don't forget to use up the rest of that cookie dough and make some standard size cookies. Here's an ingredients list. Today we're taking a classic favorite and turning it into a festive holiday cupcake. That's right, we're making German chocolate cupcakes and we're going all out. A moist, rich chocolate cupcake base, a delicious creamy caramel coconut pecan topping, topped with a chocolate buttercream frosting. And we're making everything from scratch. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a list of ingredients and directions. You can also find a link to this same cupcake box and other recommended products. Let's get started. For the cupcakes, we need 1/3 cup of milk chocolate chips or dark chocolate chips, 3/4 cup of buttermilk, and 1 teaspoon of instant espresso or coffee. This is the brand I'm using, but feel free to use whatever brand is your favorite. We're gonna heat this up in the microwave for 1 minute. This might look a little off right now, but don't worry. It's still warm, so any unmelted pieces of chocolate should continue to melt while we work on the rest of the cupcake. Go ahead and set that off to the side. To a big mixing bowl, we need 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/3 cup of cocoa powder, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and our melted chocolate espresso mixture. We're gonna mix this until everything comes together. Be sure to scrape the bowl as needed. And give the mixture another quick spin in the bowl. Next goes in 2 large eggs, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vinegar, this is the brand I'm using, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give everything a good mix until the batter is smooth. Give the bowl one final scrape with that spatula. Please note that yes, this cake batter is on the runnier side, but that's okay. If it looks like this, you did everything correct. Grab your cake pan and some festive holiday liners. I picked these up from Walmart in their cake decorating aisle, not the baking aisle. Although they might have them in both sections of their store. Mine did not. Alright, we're gonna fill each liner 2/3 of the way full. Because the cake batter is fairly wetter than normal, this might prove a little tricky. I still made a mess, but thanks to editing, y'all get to miss that cleanup. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out with a few moist crumbs. These look and smell amazing. I love chocolate cake. Alright, we're gonna let the cupcakes cool completely while we work on our caramel coconut pecan topping. For this, we're gonna need a medium-sized pot. To the pot, we're going to add in half a cup of evaporated milk. Be sure to shake up that can before you open it. Next goes in 2/3 cup of light brown sugar. There's 1/3, and there goes the second. We also need 1/4 cup of room temperature unsalted butter, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 large egg yolks. Okay, we'll add the rest in later. Let's get this on the stove. We're going to cook this over medium heat, stirring constantly until the mixture thickens. This might take about 7 to 10 minutes. You'll know your mixture is ready when you can see the bottom of the pot, just a few seconds between swipes. Take your mixture off the heat and pour it into a heat-safe mixing bowl. We're going to add in 1 cup of sweetened shredded coconut. We need 1 cup of chopped pecans. I purchased a bag of pre-chopped pecans, but still ended up chopping them up some more, as I felt these pieces were still too big. Lastly, all we need is 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give everything a good mix. If you think your mixture is a bit loose, go ahead and add in some more coconut. We don't want our mixture to slow motion run off our cupcakes later, if you know what I mean. As you can see, I erred on the side of caution and added in a bit more, just in case. It is technically still warm, so there's no need to panic. It will continue to firm up once it starts to cool down. This looks good. Okay, set that off to the side. While that's cooling down, let's make the chocolate buttercream frosting. To a small microwave safe bowl, we're gonna melt a 1/4 cup of either milk chocolate chips or dark chocolate chips for 1 minute. While that's continuing to melt, let's set that off to the side. To a large mixing bowl, we need a 1/4 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature. We're just gonna beat this up a bit for about 30 seconds. Next, we need 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, la-di-da. In goes 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, a 1/4 cup of dark cocoa powder, and 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. We're gonna mix this until everything looks smooth. Lastly, grab your small bowl of melted chocolate and add that to the bowl. Give the bowl one final mix, being sure to scrape the sides as needed. Please note we're not making a ton of frosting here. The bulk of our cupcake topping is the caramel coconut mixture, which we made earlier. Think of this frosting as the cherry on top. It's not too little, it's not too much, it's just enough. Double check your frosting, making sure you don't see any unmixed lumps of butter. Then transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with an M1 piping tip. Alright, we're ready to assemble. By now our coconut topping should be completely cooled. As you can see, it has firmed up a bit since we last messed with it. Grab a tablespoon-sized cookie scooper, scoop out some of that delicious filling, and place it on top of your cupcake. Now this filling is sticky, not wet sticky, just sticky. So it might need some help releasing from the cookie scooper. Also to note, you can press in any coconut flakes that are sticking out, sort of like shaping your filling, if you will. This isn't necessary, just a thought. Okay, rinse and repeat until all of your cupcakes have a nice thick layer. Next, grab your frosting and pipe on a single layer of frosting. And as you can see here, I didn't have enough frosting to do these last two. Oh well. Lastly, let's add on a sprinkling of sprinkles. You can find this in the baking aisle of your local Walmart. And there you have it. Gorgeous looking German chocolate cupcakes. Here's an ingredients list. Today's holiday theme inspired cupcake is this gorgeous almond amaretto cupcake, a light and fluffy white cupcake base with a hint of almond flavor, filled with a rich and creamy silky white chocolate amaretto filling, topped with a snow white almond buttercream frosting. The result is a balanced, lightly boozy cupcake with a warm almond essence perfect for the holiday season. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a list of ingredients and directions provided by me for your convenience. First things first, let's make the filling. To a pot on the stove over medium heat, we need 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Five tablespoons of amaretto. This is the brand I'm using, but feel free to use whatever brand is your favorite. Lastly, all we need is 8 ounces of white chocolate chips. I'm going with this brand, Ghirardelli. In my opinion, it's the tastiest white chocolate. Even though I only need 8 ounces and this is an 11-ounce bag, no sense in saving the 3 ounces. I don't need one more thing stuffed in my pantry. We're gonna stir this constantly so nothing burns. Once the chocolate chips are melted, which should only take a few minutes, we're gonna transfer this ganache to a bowl. Cover it with some plastic wrap and set it in the fridge to chill for 2 to 3 hours. While that's chilling, let's make the cupcakes. To a big mixing bowl, we need 3/4 cup of granulated sugar and 6 tablespoons of unsalted softened butter. We're gonna beat this until it's light and fluffy, about 3 to 4 minutes. This is an important step, don't skimp on the creaming time. Next goes in 6 tablespoons of sour cream. followed by 1.5 teaspoons of almond extract. We're going to mix this until well combined. This looks good. Now we need 3 egg whites, but we're not going to add them in all at once. The recipe states we should add them in 2 batches, mixing between each addition. So let's do that. As a side note, if you're saving the egg yolks, my other cupcake recipe, my German chocolate cupcake, requires 2 egg yolks. And if you really want to use up that last egg yolk, my soft and chewy brownie recipe calls for 1 egg yolk. Alright, let's set that off to the side and gather up our dry ingredients. To a bowl, we need 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. For our last remaining wet ingredients, we need 2 tablespoons of water and 6 tablespoons of milk. We're going to alternate adding in the dry and wet ingredients to the batter we already started in the main mixing bowl. Alright, we're ready. Grab your dry ingredients and dump in half. We're going to mix this until well combined. Now add in all of the wet ingredients. Toss in the remaining dry ingredients and mix until well combined. This looks perfect. Give the bowl a good scrape. This looks good. I think we're ready to load up our cupcake liners. I'm sticking with the white theme with these white cupcake liners. Gold or silver liners would also be a solid alternative. With the cookie scooper, we're going to fill each liner half of the way full. As you can see, these liners aren't the greatest. If this bothers you, definitely go with one of the alternatives. I think the gold liners from Walmart are pretty sturdy. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 17 minutes or until a toothpick comes out with a few crumbs. Look how beautiful these are, it's so pretty. While these are cooling, let's check back in with our filling. As you can see here, our filling is super stiff. We can't stuff this into our delicate cupcakes, so we're going to fluff it up with our mixer. This is going to take anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. The color is also going to lighten up significantly. Once your filling is ready, transfer it to a piping bag. Grab a cupcake and carve a hole out in the center. Do this for all of your cupcakes. How much filling you stuff into your cupcake is entirely up to you. I like to squeeze a generous amount inside. If you want, you can cover the filling with a piece of the cake we removed earlier. I didn't do that since I did fill up the entire cavity with filling, leaving little to no room for a topper. Either way is fine, whichever you prefer. Lastly, all we need to do is make the almond buttercream frosting. To a bowl, we need 1 1/4 cup of unsalted butter softened, and 5 cups of powdered sugar. But I want to give my mixer a fighting chance, so I'm not going to dump it all in at once. Half now, half later. Next, we need 3 tablespoons of milk. We also need 1 1/2 teaspoons of almond extract. Give that a good mix until everything looks well combined. Transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with an M1 piping tip. Pipe on your frosting like so. We're going for height here. We want to have enough room to press some almond slices along the bottom edges, so keep that in mind when you're piping on your frosting. For the last decorating touch, grab a bag of sliced almonds, roughly chop them up further if desired. Now you can sort of press the almonds into the cake, but I find it's much easier to grab a handful and gently tap the edge of the frosting into the almonds like so. This should create a fancy looking border all around your cupcake. Rinse and repeat. Refrigerate your cupcakes until ready to serve. Serve at room temperature. Here's an ingredients list. Today we're making dulce de leche cupcakes. This cupcake base is a buttery brown sugar cupcake. At the center there's a surprise burst of gooey dulce de leche filling, topped with a swirl of silky dulce de leche buttercream frosting. Lastly, a golden shimmer of sprinkles adds a glamorous vibe. This another perfect holiday treat. To get started, we need 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour spooned and leveled, which I have here in the bowl. We also need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're going to give this a quick mix and then set it off to the side. To a large mixing bowl, we need 1/4 cup of unsalted softened butter and 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. We're going to mix this until well combined. Next, we need 2 eggs added in one at a time, mixing well between each addition. Followed by 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and 1/3 cup of sour cream. We're going to mix these ingredients together until well combined. Next, we're going to alternate adding in our dry ingredients with 2/3 cup of milk. As a side note, you can also find a list of ingredients and directions posted down below in the video's description box. Don't forget to scrape the sides of the bowl as needed. One final quick mix and we're ready. Grab your standard size cupcake pan as well as some cupcake liners. We're going to fill each cupcake liner 3/4 of the way full into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 15 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean with a few moist crumbs. We're going to set this off to the side to cool down while we work on our frosting. To a large mixing bowl, we need 1 cup of unsalted softened butter. We're going to beat this until light and fluffy. Then we're going to add in 2 1/2 cups of powdered sugar. This might seem odd to you if you've made frosting before, but this particular buttercream frosting doesn't have any liquids in it. All we need is 2/3 cup of dulce de leche. Give this a good mix until everything looks nice and smooth. Give the bowl a quick scrape, checking for any unmixed butter lumps. I'm going to give my frosting one quick final mix just to be sure. Transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with a 6B piping tip. Now we want to fill our cupcakes with a couple teaspoons of dulce de leche. This is what we've been working with so far, and you can find it at your local Walmart. To fill our cupcakes with this delicious stuff, we first need to cut out a small hole in each cupcake. Grab a knife and carefully cut out a hole in the center. Repeat this process for all of your cupcakes. Now we're ready to assemble. To make sure we get a good blob of filling in the cupcake, I like to stick a finger in the center and sort of push straight down. This flattens the cake a bit more, thereby letting us add the filling while also being able to stick the cupcake top back on the cupcake, like so. Next, grab your frosting and starting from the center, pipe on a couple levels of frosting. While I was at the store, I also picked up a squeeze bottle of this stuff. It's the same product that was in the can, just a different packaging. I figured a squeeze bottle might be easier for the drizzle than messing with a piping bag and all that stuff. For the last touch, I'm using a container of super fine gold sprinkles, which I'll put a link to in the video's description box if you're interested. And there you have it, our last holiday cupcake, the gorgeous dulce de leche cupcake. Here's an ingredients list. 'Tis the season with these eggnog cupcakes. These cupcakes are a perfect blend of rich eggnog, a hint of nutmeg, and topped with a creamy eggnog buttercream frosting. As always, the list of ingredients and directions have been posted down below in the video's description box for your convenience. For our dry ingredients, we need 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to give this a quick mix and then set it off to the side. To our main mixing bowl, we need 6 tablespoons of unsalted softened butter, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and 1 1/2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Give that a good mix. Next, we need 2 eggs added in one at a time, mixing well between each addition. In goes the second egg. And while we're at it, toss in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix, mix, mix. Next, we're going to add in the dry ingredients in 2 batches as well, mixing well between each addition. Lastly, we need the good stuff, the classic delicious eggnog everybody loves, or whatever brand is your go-to. As my mom says, grab it and growl. We need half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of the good stuff. Give that one final mix. Don't forget to scrape the bowl if needed. And my bowl needs it. Not really, I just need an excuse to lick the spatula later. Alright, this looks good. Grab your standard size cupcake pan and any festive holiday liners. I'm going with this beautiful green as it's my favorite color. Grab a cookie scooper and fill each liner half of the way full. Please make sure you're only filling them halfway. I didn't listen to myself and overfilled the first batch, and this is what came out of my oven. These were the only 2 that came out of the pan. The rest are currently stuck until they cool down enough to pry off the pan. The cake is too delicate right now and will fall apart if I try. Point being, only fill the liners halfway. Oh, and I left them in for too long. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes depending on your oven. And here's what they should look like. Alright, let's make the eggnog frosting. To a bowl we need half a cup of unsalted softened butter and half a cup of shortening. If you'd rather use butter over shortening, that's fine, just swap it out with more butter. We're gonna mix this until it's well combined. Next, we need 4 cups of powdered sugar, but we're only going to add in 2 at a time. Let's add in our wet ingredients before we add in the last 2 cups of powdered sugar. We need 4 tablespoons of more delicious eggnog. Followed by half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Give that a quick mix. And in goes the last 2 remaining cups of powdered sugar. In total, that was 4 cups of powdered sugar. Don't be afraid to scrape that bowl, we want everything completely mixed in. Once you're ready, transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with an M1 piping tip. Grab your completely cooled cupcakes and pipe on a generous amount of frosting. That's so pretty. Let's do another. Here's an ingredients list. We're hitting the sauce one more time with these Christmas-inspired cupcakes. Today's cupcake is a Bailey's Irish Cream cupcake, a rich chocolatey-based cupcake with, of course, Bailey's Irish Cream, with a Bailey's buttercream frosting and chocolate sprinkles all over the top. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a full list of ingredients and directions posted there by me for your convenience. To get started, we need to melt 1/3 cup of chocolate chips into a microwave-safe bowl for 1 to 1.5 minutes, stirring every 20 seconds or so the chocolate doesn't seize. This looks good. Okay, set that off to the side. To a large mixing bowl, we need 1/4 cup of warm water. This is straight from my electric kettle. We also need 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, half a cup of Bailey's Irish Cream, and our melted chocolate. Grab a whisk and start mixing. And before we forget, let's add in 2 large eggs. This looks good, everything looks well combined. Next we need 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. Give that a good mix. You can, of course, use an electric mixer. I'm obviously being lazy. Don't mind me. This looks good. Lastly, we need 1 teaspoon of white vinegar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Alright, we're ready to load up our cupcake liners. Grab your standard size cupcake pan and your fancy holiday liners. We're going to fill each cupcake liner 3/4 of the way full. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 18 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean with just a few moist crumbs. While those are cooling, let's make the Bailey's buttercream frosting. To a large mixing bowl, we need 1 cup of unsalted softened butter. We're going to mix this until light and fluffy. This looks good. Next, we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 3½ cups of powdered sugar. I started with 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, mixed that in, then added in the remaining wet ingredients, which would be 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and 2 tablespoons of Bailey Irish cream. Once those were fully mixed in, I added in the last 3 remaining cups of powdered sugar. Be sure to scrape the bowl as needed. This also ensures you get to lick that spatula when it's all over. Once everything looks well combined, transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with a 6B piping tip. To complete our cupcakes, we also need a container or 2 of chocolate sprinkles. If you're curious where I got mine, I picked this up from Walmart. It's nothing fancy, just basic chocolate sprinkles. To assemble the cupcakes, grab a cupcake and squeeze on a blob of frosting. You don't have to make it look pretty, since we're not even going to see any of the piping tip design. This looks good, a nice blob. Grab your bowl of sprinkles and gently press your blob of frosting into the sprinkles. And the end result should look something like this. To finish the cupcake, add on a squeeze of frosting on top. This looks perfect, although I could have centered it better. Nobody's gonna care. They're just gonna be excited you're sharing a special homemade cupcake with them. How thoughtful, what a special treat. Here's an ingredients list. Today we're making these gorgeous cranberry orange white chocolate cupcakes. A super soft and fluffy orange and vanilla flavored cupcake with a tangy homemade cranberry compote filling, topped with a swirl of creamy orange white chocolate buttercream frosting, finished with a delicate border of beautiful pearly white sprinkles, and nestled on top, candied cranberries. This cupcake is like eating a fancy orange creamsicle or a 50-50 bar, paired with delicious cranberries to give you that perfect balance of sweet and tart flavors, making this the perfect holiday dessert. To get started, we're going to make the cranberry compote filling. To a pot on the stove, we need 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of water, 2 cups of fresh cranberries, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to bring this to a simmer and cook for about 5 to 7 minutes until the cranberries start to burst. Once the majority of the cranberries have started to burst and break down, we're going to add in our slurry, which consists of 2 teaspoons of water and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. We're going to stir this in and set our temperature down to low heat. This will help thicken our compote, which should take around 1 to 2 minutes. Then we're going to transfer this to a heat-safe bowl, cover and store in the fridge to chill while we work on our candied cranberries. To make the candied cranberries, we need a sugar syrup. To a pot on the stove, we need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of water. We're going to stir this over medium heat until the sugar has completely dissolved. Once the sugar has dissolved, we're going to turn off the heat and add in 1 cup of fresh cranberries. Give the cranberries a good stir, making sure they're completely coated. We're going to let this sit off the heat for 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. The cranberries look good, they're still whole, and as you can see, the syrup is no longer hot. Now we're going to transfer our cranberries to a colander. Don't rinse them. Next, grab a small tray like this, or even a regular dinner plate would work. We're going to dump out a layer of granulated sugar, and then we're going to roll our cranberries in this stuff. If you notice your tray has a lot of juice on it like mine does, you might need to add a little bit more sugar so the cranberries have something to stick to. Try to avoid rolling them in any puddles that may or may not have pooled in some areas. The whole point of this is to make our cranberries look frosted. Shaking the tray helps a lot. Once they all look frosted, we're going to set them off to the side to dry for 10 minutes. While those are setting, let's make the cupcakes. To a big mixing bowl, we're just going to dump everything in all at once. We need 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 2/3 cup of buttermilk, 2/3 cup of sour cream, 4 egg whites, 1 tablespoon, yes, that's 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And for that orange flavor, I'm using an orange emulsion. This is the brand I'm using. You can, of course, use an orange extract if you don't have any of this on hand. But I find that emulsions don't evaporate as quickly as extracts, which in my opinion results in a stronger, better aroma and taste. I'll put a link to this in the video's description box for those of you that want this. Lastly, we need 1 box of white cake mix, preferably the Duncan Hines brand for this recipe. We're gonna mix this until everything is well combined. Don't forget to scrape the sides of the bowl as needed. This looks good and smells amazing. Give your batter one final quick mix. For this cupcake, I'm going with this beautiful green cupcake liner. We're gonna need 2 standard size cupcake pans for this batter, as this recipe makes 24 cupcakes. Fill each liner 2/3 of the way full into a preheated oven at 325 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes depending on your oven. I took mine out right at 13 minutes. Be sure not to overbake these. We want to pull them out while they're still a soft white. We're not going for a golden yellow color here, that's too done. Once your cupcakes have completely cooled, we're going to take a knife and cut out a hole in the center for our filling. This recipe did state that you can freeze the cupcakes and then use a melon baller to scoop out the insides if you'd rather not use a knife. I haven't tried that method as this way seems to work just fine for me, but I thought I'd mention it. Next, we're ready to grab our compote, give it a quick stir, and either transfer it to a piping bag or just spoon it into each cavity. I'm going to go with the piping bag method as it just seems less messy to me. And I'm all about that life. Less mess, yes please. Once all of your cupcakes have been filled, we can stick them in the fridge or off to the side while we work on our frosting. To a small bowl, we need 1/2 cup of white chocolate chips and 1/4 cup of heavy cream. We're going to microwave this for 1 to 1.5 minutes, stirring every 20 seconds or so until the chips are fully melted. Now we're just going to set this off to the side to cool down. To a large mixing bowl, we need 3 sticks of softened unsalted butter. That's 1.5 cups. We're going to beat this until it's light and fluffy. Next goes in 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of that orange emulsion, and toss in a pinch of salt. Mix until combined, scraping the bowl as needed. Now we're ready for the melted chocolate. Add your completely cooled chocolate to the bowl and mix until well combined. All that's left is to add in the powdered sugar. We need 6 cups, added in gradually. I added them in 2 cups at a time, mixing well between each addition. Once your frosting is ready, we're going to transfer it to a piping bag fitted with a Wilton 8B piping tip. For the fancy sprinkles, I'm using 2 bags of these Sweet Shop sprinkles. I picked these up from Hobby Lobby in their cake decorating aisle. Grab a cupcake and pipe on a single layer of frosting. Then grab a handful of sprinkles and gently tap the edges of the frosting in the sprinkles like so, slowly rotating the cupcake as you go. Isn't that beautiful? It's so elegant looking. Lastly, add on 3 of those candied cranberries we made earlier. I think the sprinkle set is perfect for this cupcake. The only drawback are the edible pearls. I did notice towards the end I seem to have more sprinkles in the bowl than pearls. If you're worried about that, not having enough pearls, I would suggest buying an additional bag of just pearls. That would ensure each cupcake has plenty of fanciness to go around. Today we're making coconut spiced rum cupcakes. Yes, it's one for the adults. We're loading up our cupcakes with this delicious coconut spiced rum cream. It's in the cupcake batter and definitely in the frosting. We're turning a super simple cupcake into a special holiday treat. It's one for the adults. 'Tis the season. Let's get started. To a large mixing bowl, we need 1/2 cup of salted softened butter, 1 1/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons of light brown sugar packed. We're going to give this a good mix until it all looks well combined. Next goes in 3 egg whites. Mix, mix, mix. We also need 3/4 cup of sour cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of coconut extract, and 1/2 cup of Blue Chair Bay coconut spiced rum cream. We're going to mix this until everything is fully combined. For our dry ingredients, we need 1 3/4 cup of cake flour, spooned and leveled. We also need 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. We're gonna mix this until everything comes together. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a list of ingredients and directions posted there by me for your convenience. Give the bowl a quick scrape and we're ready to fill up our cupcake liners. Using a standard size cupcake pan with some festive holiday liners, grab a cookie scooper. We're gonna fill each one 3/4 of the way full. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out clean with just a few moist crumbs. Here they are, looking and smelling amazing. While those are cooling, let's make the frosting. To a bowl, we need 1 cup of unsalted softened butter and 4 ounces of softened cream cheese. We're gonna beat these 2 ingredients together until it's light and fluffy. Alright, this looks good. Next goes in 1 tablespoon of that coconut spiced rum cream, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and 4 cups of powdered sugar and a pinch of salt. I added in my powdered sugar 2 cups at a time, mixing well between each addition. Lastly, we're going to scrape the bowl real quick, just checking for any lumps of unmixed butter or cream cheese we might have missed. One final quick mix, and then we're going to transfer our frosting to a piping bag fitted with an M1 piping tip. Unfortunately for me, I forgot my piping bags, so I'm improvising with this gallon Ziploc baggie. Pipe your frosting on like so, and you're done. As a last subtle touch, you can add on a light sprinkling of cinnamon on top. Here's an ingredients list. Today we're making white chocolate peppermint cupcakes. These festive cupcakes start with a moist vanilla and peppermint base, topped with a swirl of fluffy white chocolate peppermint buttercream frosting, decorated with brightly colored holiday sprinkles for a delightful pop of color. Be sure to check out this video's description box for a list of ingredients and directions posted there by me for your convenience. To get started, we need 2 egg whites, half a cup of vegetable oil, and 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. We're going to mix this until well combined. For our dry ingredients, here I have 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. To this, we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. I used pink Himalayan salt, but regular salt works just as good. Give that a quick mix. Next, we're going to alternate between dumping in our dry ingredients and half a cup of buttermilk. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, mixing well between each addition. Lastly, all we need to do is add in our flavors. We need half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of peppermint extract. Give that a good mix, scraping the bowl as needed. Okay, we're ready to fill our cupcake pan. Grab your standard size cupcake pan. I'm going with this warm red cupcake liner, seems pretty festive. We're going to divide the batter evenly among all 12 cupcake liners. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 16 to 18 minutes depending on your oven. These look really good. Alright, while those are cooling, let's make the white chocolate buttercream frosting. To a small microwave safe bowl, we need half a cup of white chocolate chips. And I'm apparently using a 1/4 cup, that's why you see me use it twice. And to this, we also need to add in 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. We're going to microwave this for about 1 minute, stirring every 20 seconds. It is important to stop the microwave and stir the chips so the chocolate doesn't get too hot and start to seize. Once melted, we're going to set this off to the side to cool down while we work on everything else. To a big mixing bowl, we need 3/4 cup of unsalted butter. And we're going to beat this butter until nice and fluffy. Next goes in the cooled chocolate. Mix until combined. We're also going to need 3 cups of powdered sugar. I didn't add all 3 in at once. I added in 2 cups, mixed that well, then added in the last cup. And this frosting wouldn't be complete without that signature peppermint flavor. We need 1 teaspoon of peppermint extract and 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. We're going to beat this on high for about 3 to 5 minutes until light and fluffy. Once you're done, scrape the bowl if needed, while also checking to make sure there aren't any unmixed lumps of butter. This looks perfect. Transfer your frosting to a piping bag fitted with an M1 piping tip. Unfortunately for me, I forgot to bring my piping bags with me. I'm currently baking at my mom's house, so I'm improvising and using a gallon Ziploc bag. Slightly trickier to work with, but it still gets the job done. All we're gonna do is pipe on a single layer of frosting like so. To add that last special touch, we need those signature candies, preferably the striped peppermint ones. I couldn't find them at my store. I don't know, maybe they aren't in yet. So I'm improvising and going with the regular striped Hershey Kiss. Not as festive, but that's okay, I have a backup plan. To accompany this candy, I have this set of sprinkles, and we're gonna go with the red and green Christmas trees. In case you're curious, I picked up this container from Walmart in their seasonal aisle. There we go, that's festive. What do you think? If you're interested in more holiday-inspired cupcakes, check out my other videos. I have several drool-worthy cupcakes that are super easy to make, as well as a ton of Christmas cookie videos to choose from. What can I say? It's my favorite time of the year. Here's an ingredients list. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all in the next video.